Me.
There we go.
Okay, great. Recorded. Thank you. So Ntsako, I will start with you in the hot seat as the chairperson of this lovely body in your lovely beanie. Did you make the beanie?
I did.
I thought so.
I made the beanie. Thank you so much for noticing.
I thought so. It's very cute. I'm waiting for mine in at least 3 colors, please.
What?
Okay, now that you've exposed how multi-talented you are, I'll pose this hot question to you, Chairperson. So, as a student who is interested in being in the TSR, could you just talk us through the process of what you actually need to do to apply for TSR? Just the steps, like the practical steps. Yeah, how do I get to where the 4 of you are right now?
Okay, so you get the application form, which I believe was emailed to everyone. I'm not sure. When I first applied, the first time you had to request the form. So I don't know if it was emailed to everyone, but so you get the form, and then on the form you have to get someone who's going to nominate you. That can be anyone, I believe. And then you get the nomination, and then you have to get people that second the nomination. So I believe this year it's just a minimum of 10 people that you need. When I first applied, it was 40, so I was wild. So you just need 10, and I believe that was changed because of the lockdown. And I believe it can be electronic signatures. I'm not sure. And so after that, you submit a short CV, just explaining like what you've done. And I think it's only in university. I don't think your high school history is relevant in that application. But I mean, if you want to throw it in there, go ahead. Yeah, just to like show us, what you can do. And then you submit the application. Oh no, before that you have to get an academic mentor. Can be anyone employed in the faculty. Someone who's really just going to make sure that you are keeping up with your academics, and they're not like there. So don't get like a lecturer of the module that you think you're going to struggle with next year, because they're not there to like give you secret tuts on the side. Yeah. It's really just someone that's going to make sure that you are not neglecting your academics. And you submit your application, and then you wait for academic clearance. So basically, there's a panel of people that look at your academics, and I believe either the previous year or your entire academic record to date, or not to date, to like end of last year. Yeah. And then they see like how you did, and you need the criteria is on the application or in the constitution. And so yeah, after you get clearance, then the caucus starts. And depending on, I don't know how they're going to do the caucus this year. It's always different, depending on the circumstances. And I believe we're going to be using a lot of Microsoft Teams and or Zoom this year. Maybe videos. I don't know what they're planning. But yeah, so it's caucuses next, and then you wait for results, and there you are.
And then you're in. Hopefully.
And then you're in.
Beautiful. And then the fun stuff starts. Thank you so much. That was a really thorough and comprehensive. That is the word. I couldn't think of it in the other interview. And I kept saying detailed, and I was like, that's not the word I want to get across. It was comprehensive. Thank you. Wow. English. I did do English in high school.
You
That
did.
was very comprehensive, and I'm sure anyone who was worried or wondering about the steps, that has really clarified it quite nicely. And then if you can just touch on, once you are in, how do I then get to the chairperson and vice chairperson? Maybe Kristin wants to elaborate on this, just that process itself, or executive committee. Yeah.
Is it my turn to shine?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. So when it comes to choosing the exec of the TSR, the election convener will facilitate a mini caucus between all the people who are saying they're running for vice chair and all the people that are saying they're running for chairperson. The election convener will then allow you to present your speech for vice chairperson or chairperson in front of the elected TSR members that have come out from the voting period, and those people then get to vote for the chairperson and the vice chairperson. As for the other roles, it's up to the vice chairperson to decide how that process happens, but I can explain how it happened this year. Must I go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the other parts of the exec are finance, secretary, and then there's an additional member, which brings the total of the executive committee to 5 people. The other members of the exec committee also get voted in by the members of the that were elected onto the TSR, and they are voted in by those people as well. And you just need to say, okay, I'm running for secretary, and then you give a little caucus, and then they'll vote for you. And the same goes for finance, and the same goes for the additional member. So it's basically it gets voted in by the council themselves, basically.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was also very comprehensive. Thank you for shedding some light on that process. Now, you've both mentioned something that I think scares anyone when they're about to apply or they're considering applying for a leadership role, especially TSR, and that is that whole process of having to either motivate why you're running or stand in front of students and go through a caucus and get questions, and just that whole process of being questioned as to why it is you want the role. I'm sure you all know how stressful it can be. And I think we have lost a lot of really good leaders just because people have been too in their head or really think unrealistically of how scary a caucus can actually be. So do you have any tips and advice for how to get through a caucus or an interview, however it works this year? What advice do you have for a student who is really stressed out about how they're going to get through caucus and how they're going to answer, and what they need to know before coming into caucus? I think Marnus, will start with you there. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, do you want my video on or off?
I think that people want it on, but I mean,
okay, we'll keep it on. So yeah, my thing of my thoughts on the caucus was like we were very stressed beforehand, but then it ended up actually being very chilled. So I think the most important thing is just to back yourself, and also just to know why you are standing and like what you stand for. And then if let's say someone's trying to throw you off or you get a hard question, just stay calm and just answer it as well as you can. And at the end of the day, like if you're answering it honestly, they'll be like, yo, that was a hard question. They won't be like, yo, you look so stupid answering that question, or we're not going to vote for you anymore. And it's not like hardcore caucuses, which are pretty intense. Like it's the whole house, everyone knows you, and everyone's there. Like the TSR caucuses are a bit more respectful, I think, and people aren't as attacking. So it's and also like before this year, our second caucus was like a question and answer session, basically with in a small group. So each of us got like 9 students, and then they could like ask you, how are you going to tackle like certain questions, and then we just rotated through all the actual problems that we have on campus. So I think that was also a really nice way of hosting caucus.
Yeah.
But yeah, my advice would just be back yourself and just answer as honestly as you can. So yeah.
I really love what you're touching on there about being honest, because I think a lot of the fear and stress that comes before entering a caucus is thinking of how you're going to give the answer that you think people want to hear. And if you're coming in with that mentality, that's when you're really freaking out about caucus. It's not about what you think or what you feel when you get a question. It's about, okay, looking at the crowd, are they going to like this answer or that answer? So it is really solid gold what you're saying, to rather be true to yourself and be honest, and have people see that and know that that is who they are voting for. That way, when you are in the position, you don't need to pretend to be that person that gave the right answer at caucus. And I loved when you mentioned that people don't hold on to a bad answer as much as I think people are envisioning in their heads. Like, no one goes, yeah, no, I remember at your caucus 2 years after Marnus was in the caucus. No one comes to you and goes, do you remember that time I asked you that question and then you answered like this? Like, nobody remembers. We all have memories of questions that have come up in caucus that you're all like, yo, that was a lot. But you can never really remember the details. Like, I know for me, I've a lot of caucuses, but I don't remember this person said this specific thing and this was what made us angry and we tweeted about it for a year. It does not, no one makes a poster that lasts the whole year about your answers at caucus. So it's just an opportunity to hear student needs and to present yourself to people that don't know you. Like you said, it's not house committee, so not everyone knows you and people just want to get to know you. Thank you so much for that. Slee, is there anything you want to add here?
The other thing that I would like to add is whenever you decide that you want to go into leadership, I think one of the things that you need to plan is actually having a plan. Not necessarily for if you get elected, but you need to sort of have a vision and a goal that you're trying to aspire to, and you need to be able to use leadership in a way that is effective and will be able to see you to that goal. Because what I see a lot is people sort of want to run, but then they don't really have a clear picture of what they're trying to do. And so once they're in leadership, it's hard for them to actually start moving. But then that is actually when students are actually looking to you to see, okay, what are you trying to do? Let's see what your work is. And that's when the dispute starts coming in between leaders and the student body. So I think that's one of the things that I would like to give to people is have a plan beforehand. It doesn't have to be a detailed plan, but sort of have an outline of what you're trying to work towards. Yeah.
Beautiful. You are talking about something that every time people leave a caucus frustrated, it's because someone has presented something that looks very unprepared or unrealistic. It's no one really comes into a caucus going, this is what I want the sport portfolio of the TSR to do. If this person says they want this portfolio and they do not say X, Y, Z, I will not vote for them. No one does that. People are attracted to someone who comes in with a vision, with a clear direction of what they want to do if you allow them to have the position and to take on the role and take on the opportunity, and what it is that they want to, how they feel being in the position of TSR is practically going to help them fulfill this vision. So if people can relate to your vision and they can relate to how you're going to use your opportunity in the role, that's how people end up voting for you. It's not that you ask all the people at Tygerberg what they want to see your portfolio do. Yes, you want to know what the student need is, but also people want to see that you have a vision and that you have plans for when you are on the other side of caucus. Beautiful. And I think now that we're touching on this, I can phase into the next question and bring the fire back to Ntsako and Kristin up there in the top left. And that is, a lot of students at Tygerberg don't just want to come in and get their degree and go. And I think not just at Tygerberg, but in university, a lot of people want to say that they made an impact, they made a difference, they did something beyond just studying and passing. I mean, if you just want to study and pass, there's nothing wrong there as well, no shame. But for the people who really are looking for an outlet to make a difference, how have you found that being in TSR, what influence do you feel that you have? Where do you feel the TSR's influence lies the greatest? And where have you found yourself being able to make the biggest impact, be it in the student experience, be it engaging with management? What doors and opportunities does being in TSR open that would appeal to someone who really wants to make an impact on Tygerberg campus specifically? Ntsako, Kristin?
I'm definitely letting Kristin take this one.
Okay, Ntsako, I will definitely go ahead and take it. Wama, you're asking, I hope you can hear me clearly. You're asking a very interesting question here. And I think that TSR, the things that you've mentioned very nicely in your introduction to this question. There's two folds to it. There's the management, like engaging with management, and engaging on matters where you're like, this is not serving the students, this is not benefiting the students, and giving management advice on that. But then there's the second part where when you're in the TSR and you have, let's say, for example, the culture portfolio, you can do with that portfolio anything that you imagine will help to uplift the students in that environment. So if you decide you want to take on a portfolio in the TSR, whose main goal is to make things just make you a better person on campus, for example, by giving you opportunities to go into short courses or stuff like that. If you want to become a TSR member to uplift the students of Tygerberg in that way, there's space for you. Like Marnus, for example, he got into TSR, and I'm sure you can elaborate on this for himself, but to improve the sport, because sport is such a great outlet, and we don't need to stay in our houses, in our rooms the whole time. So there's availability in the TSR for you, either to be, or both, to be someone who actively uses your portfolio to advocate for the students and to create an environment that is not, that is interesting and that, has lots of things to do outside of your academics. There's lots of space in the TSR for any way that you want to uplift the students.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kristin. And it actually ties so well with what Slee was saying now of your vision, because you're highlighting the fact that when you are in TSR, there's so many spheres of influence and so many methods to influence, be it management and on an institutional level, or be it with the human experience and the student experience of the environment at Tygerberg. But it is up to you and your vision and your style and the method that you choose to make a positive impact on campus, which one of those doors you're going to enter through. So it really ties well with where is your vision taking you? Is your vision really focused on improving the student experience just on a cultural level, on rare space level, on keeping fit level, on improving the grounds, however it looks, or is it being in meetings with the dean, with the rector, with the council, whoever it takes to improve policies and rules and whatever that is more behind the scenes of running the university. TSR opens all of those doors, but whether you're going to walk through them and whether when you have walked through them, you're going to be impactful, it goes back to how solid your vision is before coming in. So beautiful. So I would then like to ask something that I know a lot of students at Tygerberg rather opt not to run for anything because they're worried about it, and that is schedule and academics. People see you all in TSR and see how busy you are, see you sending emails and being part of welcoming and doing all these great things, organizing events. And they might think, okay, that's really great, but if I join TSR, I'm going to fail academically, or if I join TSR, I'm going to be in meetings start to finish the whole week. So what does your schedule actually look like as a TSR member? Are you as busy as we think? And I'm not saying, are you working hard? You are working hard, but is it really weighing down on your schedule as badly as some people might think? And have you felt that it has a negative impact on your academics, or has it forced you to change your approach to academics, the way you study, the time you have to study, anything like that? You don't need to tell us your marks. We're not here to expose anyone. But more the heart behind the question is, what is your schedule looking like when you're a TSR member? How many meetings are you in? And yeah, how are you balancing it with your academics? Slee, I'll start with you.
Okay, so mine's a more, I don't know, detailed kind of answer. So if I can compare my leadership term of last year to this leadership term, I feel like I am more flexible in the way in which I sort out my schedule. I say this because the position that I'm in, even though like I'm in a lot of bodies, I'm in the Student Affairs Council, I'm in the Student Housing Council, I'm in TSR, I'm in Prom Committee, I'm in this side Prom Committee, there's a lot of structures that I'm in. I don't ever feel like it takes too much of my time. And another thing is, leadership isn't a hobby. You know, it's something that you need to set out to do. It's not something that you can try and take as simple as just an extracurricular activity. It is way more than that. And that's why I think, obviously, if it takes time out, we all know our timetables, or most of them for the semester. And I think with TSR, you are able to set a schedule. I know with TSR meetings, we sit together and we decide what day is going to be our day. We all know on a Monday, every second Monday at 5 o'clock, we're meeting in the TSR boardroom, and that's it. And so you are also able to rearrange your schedule like that.
Yeah.
It's not as time intensive as House Committee was for me, because House Committee, I had specific people that I had to serve, and I had to serve them within structure, within a house, you know. So that took a lot of time, and they came for many things. They came for things as simple as they need a screwdriver to things as complex as they need, I don't know, a lock cutter, something like that. So I think with TSR, you are able to sort of make your schedule as flexible enough for you to be able to study and work. But also it lies on you as a student. Once you take that step of wanting to become a leader, that is something that you also need to try and work on, is how do I make sure that I am effective in my leadership, but I also don't lose track of my academics. So that's always the big thing. And the easiest thing is to always try. For me, what worked was study groups with my friends, maybe once a week, get together, revise. It's things like that, so that you don't end up looking at leadership as some sort of, you know, I don't know, a tiresome thing. So yeah.
Thank you, Slee. That was great. Because what you're emphasizing nicely is there's no way to compare different leadership roles. So don't necessarily take, if you had a negative experience, or you were just really busy because you were a mentor or because you were housecom, doesn't mean that the next sphere of leadership you step in is going to be exactly the same. You grow the more you expose yourself to certain roles, and your strategy changes and your self-care strategies change as well. So really good not to think before coming in that it's going to be exactly the way maybe another role was before, good or bad. That is beautiful. Thank you, Slee. And I think because Ntsako handed over to Kristin before, this is definitely her moment now to add.
Hello. Time management. I sort of suck at that. So being an SRC and then the TSR was tough. Especially like before lockdown, because there was a time like we had to drive to Stellenbosch more than twice a week. This was also, during hospital rotation, so you just see me and Wama like just running to the vehicle pool. Just running to the vehicle pool to get a car before they close.
Yeah, life I wonder.
Yeah, and then like just being stressed because you don't know if you're gonna get there before the meeting has started, before it ends. So that was very, very wild. So basically what I'm saying is when you are the chair of the TSR, you are in the SRC and you are the chair of the TSR. So it's a balancing act between, being present within the team that you're leading, and also making sure that the voice of Tygerberg students as a whole is represented in the SRC. So what worked best for me is having a vice chair that I was able to trust, that if I'm not able to be present for anything in the TSR, then I'd know that I can leave it in her capable hands and attend to the things that only I, at that time, should be there for. So that made it easier on my academics. And the good thing about this is that because I'm in 5th year medicine and Kristin is 4th year medicine, so in terms of hospital rotation, so we would basically alternate. So when I was in hospital, she wasn't. When she was in hospital, then I was. And so when hospital was getting very tense, or the theory module, whatever, so the one was able to sort of like carry more of the weight than the other, and that was very, very valuable. Because like it wasn't even a big effort to say, okay, Kristin, I'm gonna need you to do this and that and that and that, but not that I'll do that, but because we were just working together very well from the beginning. So that was very helpful, just having someone in the team that knows what I'm doing at all times, so they're able to take over. So that's a good thing about having a vice chair. So my academics, it wasn't, I didn't really suffer academically. I didn't do worse than I usually do as an average student. I continued being average.
Love it. We love to see it. We love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I served 2 terms in the TSR. Definitely this term was more taxing because of the travels, but as soon as that was out of the equation, then it was much better. So I really am going to say that if anyone is trying to run for chair, you must know that you must be in Stellenbosch a lot. And if majority of your term is going to be online like mine was, then you are very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great timing. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
very, very true. And essentially, you are showing that you cannot survive or go through TSR, and especially being chairperson, without acknowledging the fact that it is teamwork and that you have to delegate, and not delegate because you are overwhelmed and just don't want to do something, but delegate because you trust the person you're working with, and you have trusted them long before you felt overwhelmed. You establish the trust relationship. That way you can delegate, share the load, because being the chairperson of a team, of a body like the TSR, comes with its own unique stresses. There's nights I'm sure there were nights you couldn't sleep because you were thinking, oh my gosh, is Slee okay? Did Marnus eat? Is Kristin asleep? So definitely don't try go in and carry the load on your own. And yeah, no, that whole traveling to Stellenbosch gig, really cute. Really, really. I'll just say it's cute. But
just have
but
a
it's
license or be able to drive or have a driver.
yeah, have a driver at hand. Even if you can't drive, have a driver. You will be. Yeah, and I think I really love that you are not telling the next chair to neglect their responsibility on the SRC, because you have been very active on the SRC. And I don't know if Tygerberg knows, but they definitely will at some point, the fruit of your actually showing up in the SRC, because there's a lot of things that the SRC is exposed to that the TSR is not granted the opportunity to be a part of, like council and all of those fun things. And you're actually being an active voice in the SRC, which one day will be all Tygerberg students, and they know it. It's really brought, you must hear now when management speaks, they'll be like, yeah, this is for all our students, even Tygerberg. So really glad that you're emphasizing that as the TSR chair, you also have your ex officio responsibilities that you should be loyal to. Beautifulness. So my next question is going to be maybe a bit more personal, and that is just what challenge or challenges did you face while you were in TSR, or because you were a part of the TSR? Is there something that was really challenging that happened in your term, or happened leading up to your term, that really kind of shook you up a bit or really tested you? And how would you advise someone who might go through that in this next term? Yeah, any tips that you have on getting through a challenge similar to something that you experienced? Yeah, so I will start with Kristin. Yes, mix it up a bit. Is she gone? You're on mute, Ntsako. Well done.
Hello?
Hi, they can hear you now.
Okay, wonderful, Ntsako. So your Wama asking about challenges sort of makes me think back on the first week when we were in our new TSR term.
The first day.
When there was the case of Msane and all the protests and, the whole thing, there's cups and sauces and organizing buses. And that was such a big thing for us because, how it showed us how the TSR can be used to argue for things, for example, like, how ridiculous they were being with the leave of absence, and they didn't want us to get hospital and off class, and we were there advocating, like, let us fill out leave of absence forms and let us not have consequences because of it. And we organized the buses, and like just that whole time period was very emotional, firstly, and secondly, very stressful because you have to be a proactive leader, but you also have to be like present in the situation, and there was really a lot going on there. So the one thing that taught me was being proactive and not being scared to speak, especially because I felt like the faculty was being very insensitive during that time period, and I felt like it was up to us to tell them that they were being insensitive and to tell them that, okay, look here, this is what you should do because this is what the students want. That is one of the things that stood out for me as a massive challenge in our term. Even now, with what happened to Lebo, we've been advocating very much with the different stakeholders in the university, telling them where their policies suck, how their policies suck, telling them that, look here, Ned, this is not the way you're going to behave, this is how we feel like you failed us, and this is how we think you should improve. It's very challenging, speaking out very assertively against people who are very grown, but that has been a challenge that I've been able to overcome, because very quickly I realized that you need to make sure that they understand what you're saying to you, and they need to make sure that they understand that you're here representing the students and that they can hear your voice. So that was really a massive thing for me. That was a big challenge.
Sure. Thank you for that, Kristin. And this is something I always say to people in leadership positions, is that you know how some people drink a shot of something and say that it is liquid courage. I say that the title that we get to have by being in these positions is it's your liquid courage per se. It might be daunting and scary to think of having to confront very grown people to tell them that they're being insensitive. But use the title that you have, the fact that you are in TSR, tell them that you are addressing them as a TSR member. If it is scary for you to step in and be like, hey, it's me, Kristin, telling you your business. No, it's me, the Vice-Chairperson of the TSR, and I'm bringing a plea that is coming from students. So it can feel really stressful to have to confront certain situations because of the title that you all have, but it is also possible to use the title as a stepping stone to be able to actually confront a situation. Marnus, is there anything that you want to say on this question?
Yes, I think Kristin touched on it earlier, and the TSR is basically, you have two responsibilities. It's like your portfolios, and then it's also like, crises or anything like actually happening on campus, which you have to jump into immediately. So I think in terms of challenges, obviously the crises are always a challenge because like things need to change immediately, and you're trying with faculty, trying to do stuff, and you're running into this onion layer wall of referrals, which you all know. But yeah, and then but I think Kristin also commented on that, so I'm going to comment a bit more on like your portfolio challenges. So I think for like you've got this vision for like what you want to do in your portfolio, and you've tried to like organize everything, but like a lot of the challenges are also sort of from faculties, but the finance department, which I've found. So yeah, it's just very hard for us to like sometimes actually get the funding that you want and get it on time, and sometimes you can only pay people like a month afterwards on a practical note, and they don't want to work for you like the following year. So there's a lot of like things like that really also make it difficult. But I think the positives are again more than the negatives. I think we've like the TSR are really supportive of each other, and we really try to help each other, and even though there are challenges, we try to get around them. And I think that's a big part of being on the TSR, is trying to get around the challenges that you face.
Thank you for that, Marnus, and thank you for just elaborating and highlighting the frustrations that you can face in your portfolio. beyond the crisis management, because I think a lot of people refer to TSR or to any leadership structure when there's a crisis, and then they kind of forget about the responsibilities that each individual portfolio actually has throughout the year when there is no crisis, and that there can be frustration and hurdles in just the functioning of your portfolio as the year goes. But I love how you ended it off there, because you said there's actually a lot more positives, and you will face frustrations. And I think it's also really encouraging for anyone else coming in who might face a certain obstacle or hurdle in their portfolio and think that they're doing something wrong. It's really reassuring to hear that it actually happens to everyone. And it doesn't mean that you're having a bad term or that you're a bad leader. It's just, it's that onion layer, like you say, when you have to go through that onion layer, the challenges, they help. So to hop on the back of what you said now near the end, and that was, there are a lot of ups, a lot of positives to the role. I'd like to hear from you, Marnus, and Slee, I'll come to you next, on what you have found has made being in TSR worth it. What has made it really worth it for you to be in this role this year?
Okay, so I think there's obviously a lot of things, but I think the main thing for me is just now I can look back at like 2 years of hard work and see, like, especially my portfolio. So I can look at like where sport was and look at where it is now. And then you can just be like, that pleases me a lot, just to see like some of the changes you've made, some of the things like you've implemented, and also like some of the people around you you've tried to influence, just to work together to like create a better student experience. So I think that's for me like the best part. And just also on that point, I think if I can like just be at any of the events or things that I can organize on campus, and just take a step back and look at everyone enjoying themselves. That for me makes it all worth it. So
sure. Wow, thank you. That's really servant leadership that you are describing there. And it's really encouraging to know that we were led by someone like you and someone like all four of you, and I'm sure the whole team, whose focus is not on personal glory and gratification, but actually looking back and going, wow, we improved this for the students, and wow, look at this opportunity that we have created for students to enjoy themselves and enjoy campus, and enjoy just the journey of getting their degree at Stellenbosch University. So that is really beautiful. And I think coming into TSR with that reason, with that objective in your heart, it doesn't really matter what you face in the year, the hurdles and the crisis. If your heart is in it to serve people and really see improvement, even if it takes 2 years, 3 years, 20 years of work, just being committed to the vision, and the vision being helping others, that will keep you going till the very end, even when COVID tries to dismantle. Thank you for that, Marnus. Slee, would you like to say a little something on this?
Yes. TSR. I won't lie. I enjoyed almost everything, if not everything. I enjoyed the meetings. I really do feel that this team was quite collaborative in the way in which it functioned. I enjoyed my study sessions with Ntsako. I enjoyed everything. I think this was such, I don't know, a peaceful term for me, even though my portfolio as an ex officio means that I'm in 2 teams, but it's also 2 teams that need each other in order to sort of push the betterment of students. So yeah, I honestly I enjoy TSR. I think better than I enjoyed being in residences for the simple fact that broader spectrum of like things that you can actually experience and a broader spectrum of challenges that you could actually face. And the way in which you navigate those challenges in TSR is completely different as to how you would actually navigate them in a residence. So having that growth take place for me was actually quite great. So no, there's nothing much, guys. TSR is nice. Yeah.
And you're not just saying that so that people apply, so that your
They
term
must
is an
apply
exception.
so that they know how nice it is. You know, I can only tell them from my experience.
True, true, true. Maybe next year, we'll see who'll be part of this interview next year. Maybe one of the viewers will be here answering some of the questions. Thank you, Slee. That was really beautiful, and thank you for being honest about your experience. And I love that you are showing that leadership does not have to be the stressful, painful, sacrificial, draining experience start to finish. Leadership can be enjoyed. You can honestly have a great time, start to finish in your term, and fulfill so many other things in your life. You could get into a relationship. You could be you could cum laude your year or whatever smart people do. Leadership does not have to be something that comes into your life to take away and take away and take away. It can actually add a lot of joy to your year. So as we are approaching the near end of our interview, because we don't want people to tune out because it's too long, I have I said wine. I have one final question for each of you, or four. And that question is for someone who is listening to this, watching this, who has seen the emails from the election conveners, who is really, really just needing one more push in order to apply and stand for the role and take on the wonderful work that you've all done this year. What is the one thing that you want to say to that person? Be it a last piece of advice, be it something you wish someone had told you before you came in. Just one last word to someone who is really considering coming into TSR, just to get them across that line and to actually apply. I will start with Ntsako.
This is funny because when I applied for TSR the first time, it was when they reopened it because I think they didn't have enough people. I saw that email and I was like, let's do this. And I literally just did it. The next day, I just went around, got my signatures, and submitted the thing without thinking twice about it. Because I am a very impulsive person, and if I think about it too long, then I'm going to start questioning things. But I really feel like the fact that you are here right now, watching this live or later, the fact that you want to know how it works, how we've experienced it, I think that is enough. I don't think that there's anything that I could say that will convince you more than the fact that you actually are interested. It's a fulfilling role. There's a lot of personal development that you get from it. It's a thankless job, but there is so much you can take pleasure from when you see the changes that you've made. Personally, I've taken up the projects that I've taken up are not projects that will be concluded in the next 2-3 years, honestly. So there's nothing I can necessarily, there isn't like a big thing at the end of the year that I can tick off and be like, yes, I'm out, I came in, I conquered. I haven't really conquered, but I know that the person after me will find it easier to take over. And that's what makes it worth it, honestly.
Yeah.
The fact that students are even a little happier than they were with the services that were there or the experience that was there before I came in, that makes it worth it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything more that I can say that can convince you, but I think you want to do it, so do it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Do it. Hello, young Nike. Yeah.
Yes.
To quote you, you said it's a thankless job, and that is, I remember that's what John also said when we were entering into this new leadership term. Leadership in general is always a thankless job. Someone has just come in, and I'm just going to act like they're not there, just going to act natural. But it really is a thankless job. And that doesn't mean that people are not thankful. It's just that people very rarely send you an email to go, oh, by the way, thank you. That thing that I was complaining about is sorted. But that does not mean that the thing is not sorted. It's just that people tend to make time to bring up the problem. And then there isn't a lot of time to then come back and say, thank you. You actually solved the problem. So if you see that you have improved a life, improved student life, even by an inch, someone somewhere is thanking you in their heart, even if they don't actually say it out loud. So really beautiful. Thank you. Just do it. For someone out there, just do it. Kristin?
So my advice, if anyone like for last effort in applying, would be that even if you feel like you don't know anything, even if you feel like you don't have previous leadership experience or you don't know what is going on, I promise you there'll be other people there to support you and guide you in the direction that you need to go. As long as you have a passion and as long as you can work hard, it's fine. It's for you. You can do it. You don't need anything else other than those two. Passion and hard work. The rest will come with guidance from the rest of the team because it's a team effort. You'll be fine.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Kristin. Yeah, I think there's always this expectation that there's a list of things that you must know before coming into leadership. I know I always make the example when I was running for SRC, I was really stressed about being able to clearly articulate the difference between capitalism and communism. Don't ask me how it relates to SRC because it doesn't, but it was just one of those ridiculous things that popped in my head that I thought, oh my goodness, you absolutely have to know that. So I know there's always something somewhere that someone is thinking that they have to know everything about before coming into the role. And thank you, Kristin, for clearing up that honestly, you don't need to know everything. There are lots of things you're going to figure out with your team as you go. Slee?
I think for me, it's you don't know what you can do until you do it. Especially since we're students who come into a space where academics is the thing that is pushed the most and something that you're sort of told to focus on primarily, that people really end up not seeing what their capabilities are and what their potential is. So I don't think you need to look onto the people who came before you to see, oh, but she did this and this and this before, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. It's like what I said before. If you have a vision and you have a goal that is going to lead to the betterment of how students are living, of how students are actually being integrated into the university, then that is something that you need to pursue, no matter what you think your potential is. Because as Kristin said, there are always going to be people who support you if you're honest, if you are genuine, and if your passion comes from the right place. Don't come with arrogance. Don't come with superficial views. You know, we live in a campus that is a very diverse, but that diversity needs to be integrated. And I think that's where leaders also come in. So I think those are like the key points that I'd like to put out, because a lot of people like to watch leadership from afar and give it a name and give it its key points. But it's something that you really need to experience. It's something that you really need to put your feet into and not worry about, you know, what other people are going to say, so long as you know what you're trying to move towards. So yeah.
Thank you, Slee. I literally wrote down, you don't know what you can do before you do it. Yeah, adding that to my book. I've been taking notes throughout the interview.
Okay, absolutely.
A book at the end. Maybe I'll credit you guys. Maybe, no promises. Yeah, and I loved what you pointed out about you don't need to focus on what the person before could achieve or what they did, and then compare it with what you can or what you have to achieve. Also, it doesn't mean then come in and completely neglect the vision of the person who handed over to you. And if the person before you has started something that really deserves to be continued, really go about continuing it, but don't get set in a trap of, okay, because they did it last year, I'll do it this year, and we'll do it the year after, we'll do it the year after. And then it becomes like a tradition at Tygerberg, but no one really knows who it serves and why we do it. So really beautiful. If it's for the students, pursue it if it's going to help. And then last but not least, Marnus.
Okay, so I'm gonna just mention two things, and that is firstly what Kristin just mentioned. That's you don't need any experience beforehand. I mean, my biggest leadership role was second year SCOM, which is hardly something to brag about beforehand. So, and also I wouldn't say I was someone that was completely like, I didn't know everything about everyone, and like you learn on the job. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, just imagine a role where you can literally plan and envision anything for the thing that you are specifically very passionate about, and then you can have the budget that you want or it needs to be accepted. But so you can have as crazy plans as you want, you can have as crazy budget as you want, and you can make with your role whatever you want to. So it's not hardcore where you have to do certain things. So yeah, that would be my thing. Like, just to tell everyone, like, it's an amazing opportunity, and if you're thinking about it, I would say definitely do it, and then let the students decide. So
Sure. Yo, that's a bar right there. Did someone write that down? I did. Just do it and let the students decide. I'm gonna go tweet that real quick, get me some retweets. Thank you. Yeah, that's so much wisdom coming out there. I think people underestimate how much you learn when you're in the job. And people think that lots of the stuff we know by the end of our term is stuff that we came in knowing. No, I didn't know what council was. I didn't know what Senate was. Okay, maybe I did, but it's not necessarily something that I knew before coming into leadership. You have trainings, and there's camps, and there's orientations, and there's workshops. And the more of those you're exposed to, the more knowledge you get as you go. So yeah, and I love what you were talking about, Marnus, that in your portfolio, honestly, the only limit is where you're willing to take your creativity and where you're willing to take your vision. If you want to think small, you're going to budget small and you're going to do small. But if you want to be really big, yeah, the treasurer might tell you to cut your budget in half, but I mean, dream big, so that you can at least land on the, what's that thing? Aim for the moon and fall on the stars or something like that. Yeah, honestly, and just do it. Just be yourself. Present your sincere, genuine self, and let the students decide. It says nothing about who you are and your character if you are not the person students vote for. But it will say a whole lot if you get a whole lot of votes by being something that you are not. With that all being said, I'm fully out of questions, and I'm sure our panelists are exhausted from answering my fire questions. Lol, they really weren't that bad, I hope. So I'd really like to thank all four of you. Thank you, Kristin, for calling in. Shame, I don't know whose airtime is going through that. But thank you. Thank you to all four of you for taking the time. It's a Friday. You could be enjoying your quarantine in peace, but you chose to be here. You chose to give some wisdom and advice before your term comes to an end. I've been saying this to everyone, but I really do mean it, that it speaks to the character of your leadership, all four of you, and I'm sure to the TSR as well as a whole. It really speaks to the character of your leadership that you are willing to invest time in the handover of your portfolio, the handover of your term. A lot of leaders, by the end of their term, they kind of just want to say goodbye and disappear as quickly as possible. But the fact that you were willing to come here and spend time to invest in the future of the TSR shows just how much it really wasn't about your personal legacies coming into it. It really is about serving students and giving students the opportunity to fulfill a desire to lead and serve in this position. So thank you to all four of you. I've been greatly enlightened, and I have so many notes. I literally have like pages that I tore out of notes from all the answers that you gave. It's really encouraging to see that we had leadership that was this wise and this humble in the front line of the student war. Yeah, so thank you and have a great evening further. If any student has a question, they can just email me and I will send it through to the team and they can respond. So that's it from me. That's it for this interview. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lucky weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Sleep. I miss you, Ama. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that, actually, the other attendees are going to hear this at your own expense. Okay. Oh, Ntsako, thank you. Just send